Hey, my people, I'm going to read a passage from D.H. Lawrence's Lady Chatterley's Lover, which is so famous as a banned book that it was even mentioned in Philip Larkin's famous poem Annus Mirabilis, which begins with the stanza, "Sexual intercourse began in 1963, between the end of the Chatterley ban and the Beatles' first LP." Because you see, there's a lot of sexual intercourse in this book, so much so that it gets kind of boring and one finds oneself skipping through to find the good bits. But anyway, there are some great bits in here in which D.H. Lawrence is talking about what's happening to England because of industrialization, and I want to read one of those passages, this one right here. "It was May, but cold and wet again, a cold, wet May, good for corn and hay. Much the corn and hay matter nowadays. Connie had to go into Uthwaite, which was their little town, where the Chatterleys were still the Chatterleys. She went alone, field driving her. In spite of May and a new greenness, the country was dismal. It was rather chilly, and there was smoke in the rain, and a certain sense of exhaust vapor in the air. One had just to live from one's resistance. No wonder these people were ugly and tough. The car plowed uphill through the long, squalid straggle of Tevershall, the blackened brick dwellings, the black slate roofs glistening their sharp edges, the mud black with coal dust, the pavements wet and black. It was as if dismalness had soaked through and through everything. The utter negation of natural beauty, the utter negation of the gladness of life, the utter absence of the instinct for shapely beauty which every bird and beast has, the utter death of the human intuitive faculty was appalling. The stacks of soap in the grocers' shops, the rhubarb and lemons in the greengrocers, the awful hats in the milliners, all went by ugly, 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 followed by the plaster and gilt horror of the cinema with its wet picture announcements, a woman's love, and the new big primitive chapel, primitive enough in its stark brick and big panes of greenish and raspberry glass in the windows. The Wesleyan chapel, higher up, was of blackened brick and stood behind iron railings and blackened shrubs. The Congregational chapel, which thought itself superior, was built of rusticated sandstone and had a steeple, but not a very high one. Just beyond were the new school buildings, expensive pink brick and graveled playground inside iron railings, all very imposing and mixing the suggestion of a chapel and a prison. Standard 5 girls were having a singing lesson, just finishing the La Me Do La exercises and beginning a sweet children's song. Anything more unlike song, spontaneous song, would be impossible to imagine. A strange, bawling yell that followed the outlines of a tune. It was not like savages. Savages have subtle rhythms. It was not like animals. Animals mean something when they yell. It was like nothing on earth, and it was called singing. Connie sat and listened with her heart in her boots as Field was filling petrol. What could possibly become of such a dead people? A people in whom the living intuitive faculty was dead as nails, and only queer mechanical yells and uncanny willpower remained. A cheerful little ditty, no? Cheers.